What's going on, guys? Jackson here, and welcome back to this week's video. Today I want to talk to you guys about something a little different. I want to discuss what you should do right when you graduate college. If you're fortunate enough to have gone to college, maybe a 4-year degree, 2-year degree, and you're just getting down to the workforce, you follow these 5 steps to make sure that you have the most optimal career possible. Once again, if you're new to the channel, I like to focus on personal finance and credit card videos, so be sure to hit the subscribe button and just put a gentle tap to the like button to show the YouTube algorithm that you enjoy this video. Starting off with number 5 is opening a credit card. Now, I know some people may be against doing something like this, but opening a credit card can be a great way to get kickstarted on your credit score. Now, I plan on making a video later on about what a credit score is and how it impacts you, but essentially a credit score tells lenders how trustworthy you are as a borrower. Credit scores range from 0 to 850, 850 being the highest. By starting this early, you've kickstarted the process for in 10 to 15 years when you plan on buying a house, that your account history will have sufficient time to grow, therefore you're able to get the lowest possible interest rate. Obviously, the most important thing you can do to improve your credit score is to pay off everything on time. Once again, we don't carry any balances going into the next month, and we don't spend any money on purchases we wouldn't otherwise make. You can see, according to this chart, a score of 760 to 850 will yield you only 3.4% APR interest, and a credit score of 620 to 639 is going to put you somewhere around 5%, and you're paying significantly more monthly payment and paying more interest for having a poor credit score. And I know there's people out there like Dave Ramsey that like to say that you don't need a credit score, which I think is true if you live in an area that you can find a low interest rate from a mortgage company that will be willing to lend you one without a credit score. But having a good credit score in 2020 is extremely important. Like I said, I plan on making a full video on why a high credit score is useful, but for now, just keep in mind that you want to keep your credit utilization below 30%, and you want to make sure you're paying off your bills on time. If you follow those 2 things, you'll probably always have a high score. Moving to number 4, this one's a little bit of an oddball, but I think it's extremely important because this was a hard lesson for me to learn, and that is putting social media and comparing your life to other people. In 2020, we live in a time where everybody is trying to catch up with each other in terms of flex value, and a lot of that isn't just necessary. By not keeping up with the Joneses, why do you care that your friend got a new car or this person bought a new house? If you're doing what makes you happy, who's to say that you're doing something wrong? A lot of the times on these platforms, people are posting these affluent lives that they're living, that they're going on expensive trips, that they're doing, X, Y, Z. And a lot of the time, that's not their real life. Of course, when you're going on vacation, you're posting pictures of what you're doing there, and then your friend may see you doing that, and then they think, oh, I need to go on vacation. The same thing works in reverse. If you see someone else driving a nice car, if you see someone else doing something that you want, it's gonna make you feel jealous. Like with anything, social media is a tool and it can be used with malintentions. It's kind of ironic I'm making a video about social media and the negative things about it when this video is going on social media. Moving to number 3, we have changing jobs every so often. Now hear me out on this one. Changing a job can be an effective way to increase your salary over time. There's actually been a number of studies posted on this on how changing your job every so often by doing the same title at another company can increase your salary significantly. If you live in a big city, this can be really valuable to change your job because your commute usually doesn't change and you're working for a new company making more money. A perfect example of this is the Market Watch report that I found. The girl's name was Jordan. She graduated college in 2012. She had a job working in Washington, D.C. for 5 years. She believes she was underpaid because she was only getting a 3% salary increase each year. She looked for a new opportunity in the same field, and she was making $22,000 more at her new job. I think it's also important to not do this too often because this will send a red flag to your new employer that, hey, I'm only here for 3-4 years. You don't want to hire me because I'm going to change a job in 4 years. If you're 30, 35, and you've got 4 or 5 different jobs in the last 10 years, this could be a bad sign. Although it's also important to keep in mind that if you enjoy the job that you're doing and you don't think you're being underpaid, then stay. No one's telling you have to leave every 4 or 5 years. Moving along to point number 4 is utilizing 401k match. And this is extremely important. There's a big rule that comes along with this. If your employer offers 401k match, always take it. What a 401k match is it's essentially your employer matching the money that you put forward into your 401k up to a certain dollar amount. And there's 2 types of matching. There's dollar for dollar matching, and then there's partial matching. With dollar for dollar matching, let's say you put 6% of your salary, say it's $60, then your employer, if they match up to 6%, they'll put in $60 as well. This can be a really great deal if you're trying to build wealth over time and you want to make sure that you can contribute to your 401k, that way you have money for retirement. Partial matching works very similarly. Let's say a company will match 50% of 6%. effectively you're only getting 3%, which means if you put 6% in with $60, they're gonna match 30%. It can sound a little confusing. Trust me, it's really simple when you think about it, but just know that this is a really great tactic to build wealth over time, and if your company offers it, it's extremely important that you sign up for it. 401k does have a limit of $19,500 a year. However, employer contributions are not counted into this amount. Except if you're contributing over this amount, then you may want to start looking at other investment strategies because you have so high income. It should also be noted that 401k matching usually has a vesting period. What this means is that you have to stay employed by the company for X number of years in order to get 401k match. Most companies offer anywhere between 2 and 12 year matching, with the majority of them being on the lower end. However, this is going to be different for every company. So you can see by using a strategy like point 3 and 4, where you're effectively getting free money and then waiting for that money to be invested, then once it's invested, you move to a new company, you can do this at a very effective rate and make a salary increase at the same time. Win-win. And I plan on talking more about this with the final tip. However, it's extremely important to start 401k early when you're young. That way you have compound interest and time on your side to build up wealth. Moving on to tip number 1, and we have what I think is the most important factor when it comes to college graduates, is lifestyle inflation or inflation creep. What this is when an individual's income continues to increase, their cost of living and their lifestyle tends to increase as well. This is really common when you see people who are making over $100,000 a year who are still living paycheck to paycheck. When you're in your 20s, nobody's gonna care that you live with roommates. Nobody's gonna care that you're not owning your own home. This is now your chance to be frugal. For example, the biggest instance where I see this is college graduates who go and buy a car the first thing they do when they graduate. You're driving a 2005 Honda Civic that may have 100,000 miles. If it's working fine, and you now just have an increase in salary, people will tend to go and buy a new car because that's what they want to do. When the reality of this comes is you could have taken that money and invested it or put towards another investment to have a higher return on investment rather than putting your money in a depreciating asset such as a car. Going off of a very simple example, you can see here that by starting with $25,000 that you would go buy a pretty inexpensive new car, after 40 years at a 6% return, you effectively just spent almost $260,000 on a new car you didn't need. When you think about it this way, that's a really big chunk of change that you just spent on something that you effectively didn't have to buy. Your car was fine. If you needed a new car, you could have gotten something significantly cheaper when you could have just saved that money to begin with. Once again, you don't have to agree with these points. You don't have to listen to them. It's just for your information, for something you consider. Food for thought. Another place that is really common with college graduates to spend money on is coffee. Say you spend an average of $5 on coffee a day at Starbucks or wherever you like to go. When you multiply this by 365 throughout the year, and then you compound this over 40 years, you're effectively spending over $280,000 in your lifetime that could have been invested somewhere else. Once again, this isn't something that you have to take for consideration. Everybody likes to go out to eat. Everybody likes to spend money on silly things. We're human, that's what we do. But it's just something to get you thinking that there's other means of saving money. One thing that I'm really guilty of is going to Chipotle. So if you think about that $7 burrito that I just paid for, I effectively spent $72 in money that would be valued in 2060. I know this is kind of silly when you think about it this way, but if I today wouldn't spend $72 on a Chipotle burrito, then I would want to save that money instead. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something. I was trying to make this as informative as possible. Let me know in the comments section what you thought, if you liked the new mic quality. With that being said, thanks for watching guys, and see you next time.